Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 23 My Team Career Mode. Today we're here for episode number 9 for round 9 in season for the British Grand Prix in season 1. If you'd missed out the last episode from round 8 around the Austrian Grand Prix where we had our second sprint race of the season, then there'll be a link in the top right hand corner of your screen. But yeah, we came back from starting, there'll be spoilers around about now. So if you did miss it, then click off now and go watch it if you haven't already. But yeah, we had to start from the back of the grid for the sprint after I forgot to put a fresh engine in. And also the AI was too low for the sprint. I realised that. And we managed to finish P9 in the main race, but we did have an ERS fault. Did we? I don't remember having an ERS fault. I know we had a gearbox issue towards the towards the latter stages of the race. But yeah, we've got an ignition system coming in 20 days, so that'll probably be for Monza. So we're going to have a big upgrade package maybe for Monza, and we may add to that with a fuel efficiency upgrade. Actually no, we'll get the, I think we'll get the engine power bar for Belgium as we get a durability upgrade. We're going to purchase the ICE upgrade, the mine ICE, as that's kind of really been getting a bit worn recently. So yeah, and also I apologise for not uploading regularly. I've been on the grind to get affiliate on Twitch, which I did get. So if you haven't already, then go follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/0141tv, and I may stream some My Team episodes in the future. But for now, as we are now going to see, we may look to replace Dennis Hauger, as he hasn't really been doing well, apart from that one-off P7. No, it wasn't a P7, it was a P... No, was it a P... I think it was a P7 or a P6 that he got in Canada, just because he decided he pitted at the correct time, left enough gap between me, from me to him, and managed to jump a lot of cars. But yeah, and for some reason Oscar Piastri, not Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hulkenberg and De Vries didn't have heads, and they had default hands as well. But it's all fixed. It was just because their head files were missing. Yeah, just because their head files were missing. But yeah, they're all fixed now for Belgium. They're fixed for the next race. So, which I have recorded, and I've also recorded Monza as well. So yeah, as we now see who we can sign, I think we're going to see if we can approach Kevin Magnussen. He's 81 rated, he's got quite high focus. He is worth 4.5 million, so we can afford him. He's got a lot better experience, a lot better everything compared to Dennis Hauger, but he declines because our powertrain isn't Spec 2, and we need to be 10th or better in the vehicle performance chart. So we can't have Kevin Magnussen, so let's try for maybe Oscar Piastri, see if we can maybe sign him as we're going to see if we can approach him. He's got only slightly better experience, but he's still got 93 focus, which is the same as Kevin Magnussen, and he does accept it. So now we have to negotiate with McLaren to see who we're going to get. We're going to start the bidding at 3 points. No, we're not start. We're going to see they offer 2.02. We're going to offer 2.06. We're going for the large bid. I'm going to see how this pays out. But yeah, he's got 93 focus, which is the same as Magnussen. He's only got less experience, so he could be slower through the corners. But I think if we get, as we do sign Oscar Piastri then, for 3 million, no, for 2.12 million actually. So we're going for less. So his market value has actually gone down by $1 million. Wow, okay. Okay, but yeah, we've got, and we're also going to renew our sponsorship with Zaneto, as what was it? I can't remember what their goal was. But we re-signed with them anyway. And also, I think the next thing I'm gonna see if I can work on is getting Piastri's experience up and his focus. I know his focus is 93, which is pretty high. But yeah, we're also going to see who moved teams. So Valtteri Bottas is still at Alfa Romeo. Stroll's moved to Alfa Romeo, replacing the outgoing Joe. So Joe's been replaced by somebody. AlphaTauri is still the same with Tsunoda and De Vries. Alpine's the same with Ocon and Gasly. Aston Martin is Alonso and Albon now. So somebody's moved. So somebody's going to take Albon's place, and so someone's going to take Sargent's place, as Ferrari's the same. Haas has got Kevin Magnussen, Logan and Sargent. Lando Norris is McLaren. McLaren is Lando Norris and Joe after we pinched Piastri from them. So Stroll's replaced Joe at Alfa Romeo. Nico Hulkenberg has gone to Williams. Now I couldn't see who was at Williams, who was his teammate. But I can confirm it is Liam Lawson who went to Williams. For some reason, it didn't update, but it updated when I went into the weekend. So yeah, I think it either updated when I went to the weekend, went to the race weekend, or I went to the. As I can see, I'm trying to see if I can find who it was, but I couldn't. But I think it updated when I was at the either at the race weekend or when I went into FP1 when I got the timing sheets up. But we do get the halo, the rear downforce upgrade on, but we don't get the front downforce. So maybe the car is going to be a little bit too oversteery this weekend, coming out of slow corners. But we do move up quite a lot. We do make a big margin. As we don't quite have enough points to repurchase it, so we're going to have to repurchase it after practice, after we get the resource points. But we made a big incline. We're now the 9th best car, and Red Bull have actually brought us a upgrade package for the power unit, so we've got some extra horsepower, which is good. So yeah, we're going to see, and it was the valve timing, I think, that we have now on the car from Red Bull. So we're now going to we've now done everything. We're now the 9th best car, so I'm now gonna head into the race weekend for my home race and the team's home race here from Silverstone. And there's rain in qualifying, it looks like. As we do get 2 performance upgrades and 2 durability upgrades, but there's a big chance of a big downpour at the end of qualifying even. As we now head into FP1, as we're now the 9th best car, we've overtaken AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo, I think. But yeah, as we now head into practice then on Friday. It isn't a sprint weekend this year, so it's just it's the normal format of FP1, FP2, FP3, and then qualifying on Saturday and the race on Sunday. But yeah, as we now come into COPS for the first time, well, it's not the first time, I've done other programs, but for the final time in the race strategy, through Mackett's and Beckett's, we take it pretty nicely. That was pretty nice. Probably could take a little bit more curb, but obviously, as you can see, these mediums are pretty dead. It's not after 6 laps. That for some reason that car damage and tyre wear thing is wrong for the lap age tyres, for the tyre age. But yeah, as we come through into the Vale chicane, where the famous through goes Hamilton moment happened last year in 2022, and we get the purple score, and actually it is you can see Lawson there, who's in the pits, who came up. And to be fair, my teammate is only 4/10 off me on the same tyres. We did have some underbody damage. Tyre wear was a lot worse than expected. Okay, so tyre wear's a little bit high around here. Maybe I'm just pushing the car a bit too much. Lap times were fine. But now, before qualifying, I'm going to change the gearbox, and I'm also going to put a new control electronics in. So yeah, as we now we are now pretty much out. We're now on the final components for the control electronics and the turbocharger, so we're probably going to have to take a penalty at some point during the remaining races, which we're on round 9, so round 9 is 16, so we've got about 7 rounds left after this race weekend, so we've got 7 rounds to try and get that turbocharger and control electronics as far as we can before taking a penalty. But as you can see, we get some pretty good R&D pretty big discounts on some pretty major upgrades, so maybe sometime in the future we'll be able to do them. As we're now going to head into qualifying then for the British Grand Prix, and we're going to see if we can maybe try and get into Q3 maybe, or maybe even just Q2, and see if Piastri will be better than Hauger. Obviously this is the first race weekend in our car. It's a completely different car to McLaren. McLaren are I can't remember where McLaren were in the performance chart, but yeah, as we come onto my first flying lap then into Cops, I like to hold it through 7th gear, but I feel like I should go up to 8th even with these upgraded cars. I don't know why. I just feel like keeping it in 7th, but we've missed both the apexes through Mackett's and Beckett's, and then through Chapel opening up DRS. We have got a car behind us. We've got 2 cars behind us actually. I think one of them is a McLaren of, I think it's Lando Norris, and then there's an Alfa Romeo behind as well. But it's good that we are at the front of this, so then we can get the better lap time. As we cross the line and we settle 1:27.8 and we go P5 at the time, a 10th off Sargent, 3/10 off Bottas. I think that was Joe actually, maybe, that was doing a lap, that was preparing for a lap. As Bottas pits, as I go on to start my second flying lap, not second consecutively. I went for a cool down, and then I went for another push lap. As through turn 1, keep it in 7th flat out, because you lose too much speed if you go into 8th. As I go down to 2nd just to see if I can get some extra rotation, see if it gains any time, and we did gain a little bit of time, and we gain a lot of time out of turn 4, and through turn 5. We're now 4/10 up, and we've got Lando Norris behind us, who is on a lap. As we come into Luffield now, we're 4/10 up, 4th gear, take pretty wide-ish line, but don't go too tight, because then you get a better exit. And we're about the same as our previous best lap. We're still 4/10 up. We didn't really gain or lose any time, but going up into 8th, I actually lost a lot of time. I lost 1/10 of a second there, so maybe keeping it in 7th is a good idea for runs in the future. As we now come down into Mackett's and Beckett's and Chapel, opening up DRS down the side of the hangar or the Wellington Straight. I think it's the hangar straight. Top speed of about 208 miles an hour, and then brake at the 50 down into 5th gear. We go a little bit wide, and that allows Norris to go side by side with us into the Vale chicane. Now we take a little bit too much sausage curb on the inside there, and we've lost about 2 to 3/10, and we're actually only going to improve by about 7/700ths of a second, and we do a 27.802. And so now, as Norris went P9, only a 10th ahead of us as he got stuck behind us. But we now skip to the end of the session. We're P21, so we need a good lap. Otherwise, it could be qualifying over for us. Piastri's P18, and he's only a 10th off getting into Q2. As we now come to start our final lap, and he's only slightly quicker than me. So turn 1, 7th gear, flat, missed the apex a little bit, which cost us a little bit of time. As we now come down into Abbey, I think. Well, I think Abbey's first corner. I don't know. I don't know the names of the corners on my own track. Well, my home track. As we now come through turn 5 onto the Wellington Straight, and down in towards Luffield, brake at the 50, brake and turn in at the 50, down to 5th gear, and then Luffield, 4th gear. We go a little bit tighter, so we can get the power down a little bit earlier, and we do, and we find a little bit of time, and now into Cops, keep it in 7th gear, rev 7th gear out, so you can take it flat, 50 metre board, turn in. I did a little bit of a lift, and then back up to 8th on the exit, and you get a lot of good time as we're now up by 4/10 of a second, going through Mackett's and Beckett's. Missed the apex a little bit there at Beckett's, through Chapel now, opening up DRS onto the onto the hangar straight. Keep it a little bit to the right. We do pick up some marbles as we try to do the shortest run, but it's a lot bumpy on that side. We've touched the gravel a little bit there going into Vale, as we now go into the Vale chicane. It was 6/10 up, brake just at the line, down into 3rd gear, missed the apex a little bit, as we now, as I try go down to 2nd to try to get as much apex to try to get a bit of time back, and we're going to improve by 7/10 of a second, nearly, and we get through into Q3? Yes, we do. We qualify. We're in P11, as others couldn't quite, as we found a big margin, and we set a 127.106 in the end then. But Charles Leclerc, fastest in Q1, with his teammate 4/10 behind him as Piastri gets knocked out in P21. Only half a second off me though, so there is an improvement there, as I think Hauger probably would have been about a second slower than me. So it is good that Oscar Piastri is slightly faster than Hauger by half a second, so that's good. That's good things. As we now come into Q2 then, the end of my first time lap, as Verstappen sets a 1:26.1, so that's a full second quicker for the lap time that I did in Q1. But yeah, we're on a used set of tyres as we cross the line, and there's yellow flags at Mackett's and Beckett's. We set 26.3, and Alex Albon is out of the session, and actually we're only 3/10 off. So as we see now, and Norris, there was a McLaren in the way there. I think it was Lando Norris, and Albon is out of qualifying, as I went to look at the race director, and yes, Lando Norris has now got a grid penalty. And actually that 26.3 was actually good enough to get into Q2. So I think, did I do it? I think I did a 27.1 in Q1. So I managed to find a full 7/10, a further 7/10 on that lap, compared to my best Q1 lap on fresh tyres. So yeah, as Lando Norris got 5th place grid penalty for Sunday's race. As we now go into Q3, and then the rain has started to fall, and so we've gone out early because the rain is going to get heavier over the course of the session. As we now, as I think, as changeable conditions I'm not good at, as we've got a dry setup because the race is going to be fully dry. So this session could be a bit tough for us. This, as you can see, we're already struggling through turn 3 and turn 4 with bits of oversteer, and we've also got a car behind us of a Ferrari of, I think that's Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc. As I'm just trying to get grips with the wet weather, as obviously Q1 and Q2 were both dry. So, but the good thing is that we've saved. I think we've saved. Actually, we've saved 2 sets of soft tires for the race in case we need to use them. So because I actually got through on that one set. So as we've got, I think it's Sainz behind us. As now Sainz going to have a look up the inside of Mackett's and Beckett's. You don't want to go side by side through there, especially in the wet, and especially if you want to compromise each other. As Sainz was actually on a lap as well, so maybe he just timed it wrong or got stuck behind me. As he's now going to maybe have a look around the outside of Vale, but he's not. As we know, as Joe sets the fastest lap of 1:33.8, and actually Sainz is going to peel off into the pit lane. Did he get damage from the contact with me? I'm not sure. But anyway, we come to finish our lap, and we set a 1:36.4. Yeah, and the fact that Joe is doing a 1:33, and we are 3 seconds off the pace. So I decided to go for a cooldown lap. Did I? No. I mean, we've already found 3, 4, 4/10 already through turn 3 and turn 4, and I decided to do the non tactic of putting the ERS into non for the slow speed corners. As we now cut to the end of my second consecutive lap, and we're up by nearly a second, but still we're still going to be 2 seconds off the pace of Perez, and we're still going to be about 1.2 seconds maybe slow off Joe Guan Yu. As we now come through the final corner, we actually lost 3/10 just because I hit that sausage, and we lost him. We crashed, and we're out of qualifying in our home Grand Prix. That's not good at all. We unsettled the car a lot by going over that sausage curb and just put the power down a little bit too early, and yeah, that's qualifying over for us then. Yeah, so we'll be starting this race from P10, which is still good, but with Lando Norris's 5-place grid penalty, depending on where he qualified. So he qualified P6, so we will be starting our home Grand Prix from P9 then. But yeah, we were so far off the pace. Even Carlos Sainz only did a 35.1 in a Ferrari, whereas his teammate did a 33.3. So Sainz is 1.7 seconds slower than his teammate. So maybe Sainz's confidence has been dropped a little bit. But Verstappen P5. Let's see what he can do from P5 on the grid. See if he can maybe pick up a win and ruin the British fans again. But yeah, as we get our acclaim, and yeah, that's it for qualifying and everything else. We've set the grid for the race. So speaking of the race, let's head in then to the home Grand Prix for the British Grand Prix here in season 1 for round number 9 of the season.
Welcome everyone as you join us at a former Second World War aircraft base, now converted into one of the great motor racing tracks. Britain is one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every year of the Formula One World Championship, and long may that continue. This is Silverstone, and this is the British Grand Prix. The 3.6 mile long Silverstone circuit is one of the longest of the season, with 18 corners in the current layout. With average lap speeds reaching around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the quickest tracks of the year. Watch out for cars taking the right-handers of Abbey and of Copse flat out. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. It's Sergio Perez on pole today, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Joe, Sainz, the owner driver, Stroll, Norris, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Albon, Gasly, Ocon, Liam Lawson, Oscar Piastri, De Vries, Magnussen and Logan Sargent. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Right, mate, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but I want you to treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks, please.
Right then, so with both Hasses starting from the back, picking up grid penalties, you can see the strategy there. We're going to do the medium to hard strategy as we get the formation lap underway.
Go through all the gears if you can. We need to make sure the engagement is okay before the start. We're going to want to put some temperature into the tyres and brakes.
Okay, got off mark there. But yeah, as we now come down into Vale and the Vale chicane to end the formation lap then, here for the British Grand Prix. We need a good start here, and we're going to try make places as Perez, Hamilton and Alonso will probably try and go, probably. and try to leg it, as probably will most people, as my teammate's actually starting on the soft tyres. I just realised that. So he's probably doing a soft medium, as we now park up. Let's see if we can get purple. Yes, we do. We get 0.2. Right then, so everybody else is lining up on the grid with both Hasses lining up on the back row of the grid as we now go to 5 red lights for our home Grand Prix, for the British Grand Prix in Season 1 for round number 9. It's lights out and away we go and we get a good start. Sainz does not get a good start at all and we're already up into P8. We've already jumped Carlos Sainz. His focus is absolutely done. Alonso didn't get a good start either. Both Spaniards not getting a good start so far. In this British Grand Prix, we've got 26 laps ahead of us as we now go down in towards turn 3 as we make a little bit of contact with Fernando Alonso, and we've got minor front wing damage on our left end plate as we now come down in towards turn 4 and out of turn 5 through turn 5, and we've gained a place, and Sainz is now probably going to breathe down on X. We're going to see, is Carlos Sainz maybe going to look? Oh, it's Lando Norris. Lando Norris is into P9. Sainz has had a woeful start. Is Lando Norris going to look up the inside through Luffield? We go. We're going to go side by side. Lando Norris gonna try to go around the outside, and he's still there. This is Verstappen Hamilton 2021-esque kind of stuff. Let's see. Are we still gonna be side by side into Copse? No. Norris is able to get the jump on, and Carlos Sainz now gonna go side by side through Copse. Oh, we backed off, but we lost a lot of time, and we lost the position to Sainz. But we've got a good exit compared to Sainz, as we're now going to see if we can catch him through Mackett to Beckett. But this wing damage is really compromising us, especially as we're on heavier fuel as well. As this front wing damage is really, it's not good through high speed corners. We kind of need to get it changed, but it's not major damage, so we're gonna stay out, and we're probably gonna change the front wing at our pit stop as when we go onto hards on lap 12. As you can see, we put the repair wing damage to yes, so we are gonna get our wing changed. But Lewis Hamilton managed to get a better start than Sergio Perez off the start, and he leads the British Grand Prix. It's now gone to lap 6, and Carlos Sainz has actually dropped back from Lando Norris and the leading pack. The gap's 2.2 to Sainz, between Sainz and Lando. We've got DRS on Sainz. We're going to deploy the battery, and we're going to go to the outside into Vale, and we're going to get the move done way before the braking zone. And Yuki Tsunoda could maybe have a look around the outside of Sainz, but Tsunoda tucks in behind, and we are up into P9 of our home Grand Prix. And that's something that the British fans are going to be a fan of. As you can see, we're already on 31% on the front left. As we're trailing the car ahead, which is Lando Norris by, well, 2.2 when he said it, when the message got sent, but it's 2 seconds. And now that gap to Joe has now increased by 3.6 as Tsunoda gets past Ocon. And actually, lap 11, we're going to come in to the pits for the undercut, and that said 40. I swear that said 40. So we've got away with a cheeky 5. We've got away without getting a penalty by speeding slightly. But yes, as we now come into the pit lane, as Piastri is in, as we've got 15 laps to go then, and we do get Perez does come out ahead of us, but we are going to get our front wing changed. So maybe performance will be slightly better as Tsunoda goes past and the Alpine of Ocon goes past, and the Haas of Magnussen even, as I keep looking behind to see if my teammate gets held. He gets held slightly, gets a little bit held, but nothing too major, so we haven't really compromised Piastri a lot, but I think he maybe got a front wing change or something, as he maybe got damage. But yeah, we are out in P20 then. We have lost a few positions to Tsunoda, Ocon and Magnussen. So we lost 3 positions, but we had a front wing change. So hopefully our performance will be a lot better. As lap 13 now, the leaders are in. So Russell, Verstappen and Joe, and basically all the second drivers are in. As Lewis Hamilton retakes the lead then of the British Grand Prix. And it looks like Russell is going to come out in P2 as we look at the minimap. He's at the end of the pit lane, and yes, Russell comes out in P2 ahead of Leclerc and Alonso and Perez as well. So I think Perez maybe just about got held maybe by who was ahead by maybe Tsunoda. or I don't know. But yeah, as now Stroll's in the pits again, so Stroll's going to fall back to last. He pit early on in the race, as we now have a little bit of a moment. As the gap between me and my teammate is 17.4, which, actually, I just realised, Carlos Sainz, his P20, after the pit stops, he was running just behind me. As we now got yellow flags, and George Russell is out of the race from P2. George Russell is out of the British Grand Prix, as now we are catching the group ahead of Bottas, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, and Ocon. Well, Ocon's actually a bit further ahead. As we now go to lap 18, and there's more yellow flags through Luffield on the Wellington Straight, and it looks like it's the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. Alonso maybe could have had an engine failure, as I do. What do I do here? Do I do a quick pause? Yeah, I do a... Oh, for God's sake, have I... Oh, I've left... Oh, no. I forgot to cut this bit out. But I actually went to go see what it was. As you can see, as we're on board with Fernando Alonso. And... yeah, I really should have cut this out, but as you see, his engine has failed. He's got an engine failure. So this is these Aston Martin run Mercedes engines, and the Mercedes of George Russell retired. But we're running Red Bull engines, so it doesn't really matter to us. So yeah. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, anyway, back to the racing, and as you can see that the gap between Bottas and Magnussen and that group ahead is 3 seconds. As we reach the 25% mark, we reach the 25% number for the tyres, as there's Alonso's stricken car, yeah, so that means that now the fronts are going to be... We're in the first stage of the... As Albon now has an issue, and Albon is behind us, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, as I was saying, we've now reached the first stage of the tyre wear, so we're going to start noticing some understeer. As now lap 25, the penultimate lap, as you can see, the tyres are on 60%. They're pretty much dead at this point, as we now start the final lap of the race, and actually Albon actually had to pit for a fresh set of soft compound tyres, as he is last, and actually and he's been lapped as well, so he has been lapped by the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, who's going to come round the final few corners now, and he is going to win his home race and he's going to be on the podium for the eighth time in his career. Lewis Hamilton crosses the line now, and he wins the British Grand Prix. But we have still got a fight on our hands, as Gasly is gaining on us as the tyres, the front left has now reached 60% tyre wear, as Lawson and Gasly are now actually fighting, which is good. We just need them to hold off, so we will get P12 after starting P9. So we did lose 3 places, but with that front wing damage, I will take that as a good result. We had front wing damage for a good 10, 11, 12 laps of that race, and we managed to have some strong pace. We pitted early onto the hards. Didn't really hold Piastri up too much. I just don't think he has the pace in the car, so maybe we need to upgrade the car. But we are going to come across the line to finish P12 in our first British Grand Prix in this career mode. And yeah, but Lewis Hamilton is the story of the day, the British driver winning the British Grand Prix. So yeah, as Kevin Madison gets driver of the day here from Silverstone.
then, a fantastic British Grand Prix, and what a performance it was from our race winners today. Well, Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today, but what set them apart from the rest?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Well, Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. So let's review the drivers' standings. The gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Often my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
Let's move on to the constructors. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Then, here are the results then for the British Grand Prix, as Lewis Hamilton did pick up the win then, with Charles Leclerc finishing P2 and Zhou Guanyu in his McLaren debut picking up P3, finishing ahead of his experienced McLaren teammate Lando Norris, ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, Perez, Bottas, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, and Verstappen finishing P10. So maybe Verstappen is struggling a little bit, with Ocon, myself, Lawson, Gasly, Sargent, De Vries, Sainz, Stroll, Piastri, and Albon making it to the checker flag, with Fernando Alonso and Russell not making it, sadly. Championship-wise, the gap now between Verstappen and Leclerc is now 14 points, and it's only 3 points between Leclerc and Hamilton. So, and 1 point between Perez and Hamilton. So it's 18 points between the top four in the standings. We are P7, Piastri is P13, but his 15 points will only count to McLaren. They don't go towards our team because he scored them points whilst he was at McLaren. And yeah, so Liam Lawson, 23 drivers. And champion and constructors wise, we are P6, 3 points behind Aston Martin after they had a pretty shocking race. But luckily for them, so did we. We didn't score any We didn't score any points today. So I'd say Aston Martin did get let off a little bit. But hopefully we can fight back in Belgium, as Belgium will be a sprint race. It'll be our third sprint. 3 sprints out of 6. I think we're doing 5 sprints. Oh, a lot of sprints. But yeah, as you can see, we only got 7.5k, but we did get, I think we got our sponsor bonuses, so that's good. We're now on 2.33 million. But yeah, that was the British Grand Prix. And let's see how Hamilton got away so well, as the 5 red lights went out. And I think Perez actually got a little bit of a slow start, as actually no, because Perez was leading into turn 1. I don't think we'll be able to see where Hamilton went for the move. So already ahead. I think he probably waited for a straight, and maybe Perez didn't get a good exit compared to Hamilton. But yeah, that British Grand Prix. To be fair, the race was pretty boring. Like, not much action happened, apart from Alonso and Russell retiring and maybe some battling on lap 1. But apart from that, it was just a pretty crackdown race. As yeah, I didn't really, to be fair, I didn't actually get a good exit out of love field, maybe because of the damage that I had, which was able to get Carlos Sainz to get down the inside into Cops. But then, I don't know why, but he was really slow through Mackett's and Beckett's. Like, he was just slow pretty much ever since I overtook him. It was a bit like when I overtook Dennis Hauger a few races ago. I think it was... which race was it? I can't remember. But yeah. Was that... For some reason the dash is wrong. I don't know why, but it just freezes when you're not thinking. When you're in replay camera, but... yeah. But that is going to round out the British Grand Prix, and the next race will be Belgium, which will be a sprint race around Spa, which just happened last weekend. As this video will go up, because this will go up on the Monday after the race. So, and it was a pretty boring race, to be fair. But yeah, that's going to be it for today, guys. If you have enjoyed, then leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So, from me, I want for one, peace.